Oh my god, wait. What is that? Is that an actually short Mies video? Hello. You know what? I just turned off voices for this part. This one is a pretty simple concept, so I'm just gonna keep it simple. I've been doing my fair share of Ineffa on fielding recently, and she's actually kind of really good at it. Let's just go over how this journey started real quick. Since she's come out, I've had a lot of fun messing around with overvape Ineffa teams. This actually became my favorite Linny team. Well, it was actually Farina instead of Yelan. Farina and Yelan do the same thing for the most part. HP scaling, damage percent buffing. Anyways, I'm keeping it simple. I've had all sorts of fun swapping around what unit you play in this slot. A little bit of Hu Tao, a little bit of Dea, even some PMC at times. Yanfei, whatever, you get the deal. And I inevitably came across the idea of, hey wait, what if you just put Bennett in this slot? Overvape is all about enabling a pyro carry to do reasonable damage, while Ineffa also does her own damage off field. So what if we just cut out the middleman, and instead of having a vape carry alongside Ineffa, we turn Ineffa into the pyro carry while giga buffing her electro damage at the same time? Her main source of damage does not scale on the damage percent stat. It scales on attack, it scales on EM, it scales on crit. As a result, Ineffa does not build for damage percent. I have a 2-piece, attack and EM, and my goblet is not an electro damage goblet. And you know what's funny about attack, crit, and EM? Those are all the stats you would build for vape. Because she has this quirk in her kit that doesn't make her build for damage percent, all the stats that she wants to build also contribute towards making a decent vaporize build. If you want further explanation on exactly how all her talents work, how she's built, lucky you, I have a video all about that. This video assumes that you know how Ineffa works. Let's do a quick test run so you guys know I'm not just spitting complete nonsense. I need to prove that this concept works. I ran out of stamina because the dash cancels. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Whatever, you see the point. I'm getting 30 to 40k charge attacks while also getting 60 to 70k skill procs. And my Ineffa is only at normal attack level 6. I'm probably gonna bring these higher to around level 8. I might even crown him if I'm feeling crazy enough. But there it is, that's the very basic premise. Because she doesn't want to build electro damage bonus, all the damage that she's building contributes to any potential pyro vaporize damage that she would be doing. And given that the best attack buffer in the game is also a pyro infuser at C6, this is a very relevant thing. On-fielding Ineffa is like a real team. But yeah, you will need C6 Bennett to do it. Let's talk about actual build stuff for a second, because I know I said Vape Ineffa uses all the same stats as regular Ineffa, and that's kind of the point. You build for both damage sources of the skill and the vape charge attacks with the same stats, but there are a few things that on-fielding Ineffa changes. Number one, which is probably the easier one, because she's on field and collecting the particles she generates, she has lower ER needs. I find her usual solo electro needs to be around 160%. I've been running Catane on a 120 build because an R5 Catane is worth about 40 energy. Seriously, this thing is insane. Because I'm on fielding her, I can build less energy, and I can swap to gear with more damaging stats. The second big factor, which you could see by my weapon, on fielding her changes what gear she has access to. There are a lot of effects that do not trigger off field, Primordial Jadewing's passive being one of the chief examples. While the passive is fine enough, the fact that it can't be procced off field makes it so that Jadewing isn't particularly great for her. It gets outdone by 4-star weapons that have strong passives that work off field. Because I'm on field, I can proc the passive, it becomes a lot better. Very similar situation when it comes to artifacts. Because there aren't any sets that synergize with her off-field playstyle, her best set becomes Gilded Dreams. and it's not by very much because the 4-piece set effect of Gilded Dreams is just numerically not that great. Playing her on field gives access to the generically great Marechaussee Hunter. Of course, you have to run her with Farina, and I'll try a few runs of that, but Yelan is generally my preferred version of this team for her consistency. But on-fielding her does give you the opportunity to run Marechaussee on her. And perhaps also a new set that is about to come out and does something very similar to Marechaussee, but who knows? Who knows? Not me, I don't know anything. So not only does on-fielding her give her a ton of extra stats and properties that she can make full use of, it unlocks better gear for her. Before I do a little bit more testing, let's take a look at my other teammates to see why I picked them. It's obvious why Bennett's here. Big attack buffer, Pyro Infusion, you do need C6. Additionally, C6 provides a Pyro damage bonus, which for a character who doesn't build any damage bonus, this becomes pretty impactful. Big stinky attack buff that buffs both normals and skill, and enables her to vape. Let's look at Shilonen. Shilonen is my go-to option in teams that deal multiple different types of elemental damage, and this is no exception. Her ability to shred res for whatever elements are in the party is just invaluable. Ineffa is dealing strong pyro damage and electro damage, and getting a proper swirl setup for both of those elements is basically impossible. Shivers can do it, but this is a vape team. We need Hydro, and she needs all Electro Pyro to shred res, so that's not happening. Although notably, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, this is an option for Overload for one boss in particular, although it's a very relevant boss. Yippee, it's Tulpa! And I didn't mention it, but Tulpa has a permanent Hydro Aura, so she can still get her Electro Charge procs while being run in an Overload team. Big res shred, a lot of damage. And this is another interesting one, because while I do have Xiangling here, a very poorly built Xiangling, it seems, I don't actually need an off-field Pyro. Ineffa, of course, handles the Electro herself, and Bennett, infusing her normal attacks, applies the Pyro application that you need, although Xiangling is still unbelievably correct against Tulpa, so you probably still should bring her. But this team would work with something like Eon-san in this last slot. No off-field application from any of our supports, but because we have an on-field DPS who is dealing both types of damage that Overload needs to function, you don't need any off-field application. Anyways, back to the main team. I love how I got sidetracked before I even finished talking about the main team. Shilonen shreds res for both elements without asking any questions, and I do not have her on scroll. I have her on instructors. Not only are scroll setups kind of really difficult to do in this team, and I don't want to think about them, Ineffa's electro damage doesn't benefit from damage bonus for the most part, and while it does affect her vape charge attacks, her charge attacks don't make up a very large portion of her damage. My rigorous feels crafting tells me that it's a little bit under 50% of her damage. Instructor is way easier to set up. You don't have to have any specific elements as long as you have a crystallizable element on your enemy before Shilonen goes on field. You're set. And the EM benefits both her electro damage and her pyro damage. Easier setup, higher synergy. It's possible that a proper scroll setup would result in better DPS, but frankly, I can't be bothered when Instructors is here and it's so good. I already talked about why Bennett's here, but he's on Noblesse. Of course he's on Noblesse. When is he not on Noblesse? Actually pretty often. I have an Instructors build for him, and I have a Maidens build for him, and a Crimson Witch build for him. I swap him off Noblesse a lot, but I think I'm weird. I don't think many people do that. Final unit is Yelan. Of course, she's here to apply Hydro so that we can get our vapes. And while there is the alternative of Xingqiu that you can use in this slot, I prefer Yelan for two reasons. Number one, she has a lower burst cooldown at 18 seconds. Xingqiu's is only 2 seconds over hers, but his burst isn't actually why he rotates so slowly. It's his skill that for some reason has a 1 second longer cooldown than his burst. This team wants to rotate a little bit faster. Yelan enables that. The second thing that she does is that funny. Is it here? No, it's this passive. It's the damage bonus buff. She has a damage bonus buff to your on-fielder during her burst. It ramps up over time. Going back to what I said with Bennett and his C6, on a unit that normally doesn't build damage bonus, giving them a little extra damage bonus really impacts the sources that damage bonus helps. That's why over the course of Yelan's burst, you see Ineffa's charge attacks doing more and more damage, starting anywhere as low as like 28,000 and scaling all the way up to around 41. This passive can increase Ineffa's charge attack damage by upwards of 30%. When it comes to application, I find that Yelan works perfectly fine. There can be a tiny bit of inconsistency depending on my timing, depending on my combos. You don't have that inconsistency with Xingqiu because he applies, frankly, a ridiculous amount of hydro. But with Farina, she doesn't necessarily have slower application than Yelan, but her application varies because the rate at which her summons hit varies. Farina's weird. She does enable Marechaussee, but that inconsistency in her application can cause you to lose some vapes. This is a pretty simple, strong, and consistent variant of a carry Ineffa team. And who knows, maybe very soon we will be getting another option to apply Hydro here. Oh yeah, and she's on Emblem. Before I look at the Farina variant, I do want to try this against Stygian. We'll see how well it works without energy. Let's try it against, what's it called? Try this against Fearless. Holy crap, wait. Oh, wow. I really just, I just jumped into Menacing or Fearless or whatever difficulty 5 is, and I did that first try. That, like, wasn't even difficult. I didn't have to optimize. Energy was a tiny bit of an issue, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't work around. It was, like, comically easy. Cool. I thought I was gonna have to reset at least once. I was expecting maybe like 3 or 4 resets, but no, that speaks for itself, I guess. I also wanted to do some Abyss testing, although I don't really think I need to do that anymore to prove its power. In any case, my excuse is that the current Abyss absolutely sucks for Ineffa and feels disgusting, and we've got a reset in 16 hours for an Abyss that is tailor-made for her and actually feels very good. And I'll be streaming that tomorrow, so here's the clip of me clearing on that Abyss. Please don't reprove me, I'm shy. Okay, nobody look. Nobody look at Gekue. Who's the main DPS here?
Careful, dance.
I don't know. You people always need to have your precious little main DPSs. It's Ineffa. It's Ineffa. The main DPS is Ineffa. I actually do need to get a good clear. I'm gonna try this like maybe like 2 more times, and then I might swap to a better team that is able to clear easily, or just a better team for the Abyss at least. Why is every single fucking... Alright, I'm gonna tweak out over this again. I tweaked out over it a little bit in my Discord, but why is every single, like, okay, you can use whatever Natlan unit you want, Abyss, why do all of them exclude Kaniche? Because they always have that fucking hamster. They always have some Dendro-resistant enemy. It's just like, okay, use whatever Natlan unit you want, as long as it's not Kaniche. What is up with that? I did Shilon too early in meditation there.
The show's only just begun. Not done yet.
Come on. Because they hate males? They hate... Hoyo hates men. Is this... Okay, this is the only guy left. More crocodile. There we go. Easy. Alright, well, you know what? I'm just gonna continue through. I'll come back and clear this with a different team. The recording is only about the first half clear in any case, so... Where are you going, man? Where are you going? Boom. I'm swapping the wrong units again. I'm forgetting my order. Hello. These guys are new. This is not the same enemies that I've been fighting for the rest of the floor. Okay. Beautiful. Alright, they're not making this abyss easy. They're not making it easy for Kanich. Anyone else brute force it with Kanich too? No. That's weird. That's so weird. Okay. And it's you, okay. Does he start off doing the same thing? He does. Is he right? Yeah. I guess I might as well just do the full rotation. I'm already here. Ooh! Come on. Done it. Thank you. Oh, no burst. Why is everybody running out of energy? Am I the person? Am I the creature I was talking about? Where this abyss, because it's AoE, everyone's gonna think their ER requirements are met, but they're not? Is that me? Is that me? Oh, cool. Alright, that was it. Yippee! Hooray! They all cleared in reasonable times. That is, yeah, that's a pretty easy abyss. I think I'm just gonna give the Farina variant a quick shot and then call this a video. Here we go. That actually went really well. I did not miss any vapes there. And I am rotating a little bit slower because I'm using Shilonen Burst now to help with fanfare generation. Overall, I'm seeing surprisingly similar damage. I don't know, this actually isn't performing really too differently at all. This is mostly the same. As long as my application lines up, this is pretty much the same team. If anything, it's honestly a little bit less on my A4 passive. So for me personally, I think this is still a two-piece team because my Mara Shosei is just not good enough to overtake my two-piece. Now we have, yeah, 9190, which I think is the same crit value, if not more, than my Mara Shosei build. Maybe this is just a me problem. I think this is just a me problem. I like Yelan better. That's it. That's the video. I kept it short, guys. Yay, are you proud of me? I kept it short. Pretty simple concept, just one that I felt I wanted to share, especially before Ineffa's banner ended. Ineffa's kit has a lot of weird little things that all come together in the right way to make her a pretty proficient dual element carry. Before I go, I gotta give a shout out to my beautiful, beautiful channel members, of which we have 11. Oh my god, holy freak, what's going on? Thank you very much to Zach ZDR, Darnova, Do, I could be pronouncing this wrong, Pyre's Flower, Dadiz, Penguin, Pegby, Rimpelitus, Najodo, SJ, and Dorsal from twitch.tv/dorsalfin1. Thank you so much for your support. This new video is a short one, or it's supposed to be. I hope it's short. I hope I don't sound stupid. But this is not the new norm. I just have this idea. I need to get it out. I've got a lot of stuff coming in the later half of this patch, and especially 6.1. Misa's getting busy. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learned a little something. Have a lovely day.